Good morning. What's up? Happy Thursday. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 313. My chat looks off. I don't know if you can chat. You probably can, and I just can't see it, so that's annoying. But I don't have time to restart. I am running behind. I woke up this morning and just kind of took my time. I don't know why. I just kind of it's one of those where you don't even like time doesn't exist. And it's like I'm just gonna do me this morning. And then all of a sudden you look at the time and it's 6:47 and it's like, oh crap. So my chat's not showing up, so I apologize. Um Yesterday I went for a bike ride. I started. So today's what, Thursday? So Tuesday after work did a little shopping. My all my polos shrunk in the last year. I don't know what's up with that. So I had to get some new polo shirts. This is one holdover that made the cut. Did a little shopping. Um, it probably shocked my wife when I'm like, "Hey, do you want to go to Nordstrom Rack?" Because I hate going shopping. But it was a need. Like I'm down to like two pair of shorts and like three polos, four polos. It's like, okay, I need to up the game for summer. So did shopping Tuesday, and then I need a bike rack for my bike on my car, because I want to hit some trails this summer. So I went to a bike shop, and they're like, no, there's like a bicycle out. There's a bicycle shortage. So top loaders aren't the only thing. Bicycles are being hit by the shortage as well. So he looked it up in his computer. He's like, I can put you on like a list and give you a call when they're in. So he comes back and he's like, they're on an indefinite back order, which means basically like when you go to Ultra Pro and BCW, when they say you can order a case of top loaders, but they're expected 12 months down the road. That's kind of what the bicycle shortage is. So he's like, I don't know. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 6 months. And he goes, that's for all 30 of their stores. So I'm like, okay. So I went to and then the next stop I went to was the actual shop that I bought my bike. And it was kind of an annoying experience. I have either like great service or like terrible service when I go to this bike shop. So I go in and I actually like I need help. Like I need help with the bike rack. I also want to get saddlebags. So I needed help. So I'm kind of looking around. I find some saddlebags, and a sales associate walks up and he's like very passive. He's like, "Oh, you've been helped, right?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Actually, I need help." So my first question was about the saddlebags, and first I asked about a price because there was no price on it. I hate that. So he didn't really know. I don't know if he was like, I don't think he was a sales associate. I think maybe they were shorthanded and he was just there to help with what he could. So uh, found a price. So I'm like, okay, well, I have the Magnum Ranger. Is it going to fit on this? And he's like, well, why don't you check it out? So checked it out. Didn't fit, but I had found another set. So I put those on, and he's like, oh, I'll just let you figure that out. Oh, thanks. So at that point I was annoyed. I don't know if the other set didn't fit either, or I just didn't know what I was doing. Probably the latter. So I just got annoyed and put them back and walked out. Didn't even ask about the bike racks because I was annoyed. And I'll just go to a different bike shop this weekend and try to find a bike rack, because it's a pain. It's a pain. Excuse me, to put it in the actual back of my SUV, because it's It's big, it's bulky, it's heavy. So we'll see. So I did that yesterday. So then after that, I went for a bike ride, rode into one of the towns near me, hit up a brewery that they have a beer that I really like called Sweet Sunglasses. It's described as the perfect lawn mowing beer. It's kind of a mix between it's an ale, but I would compare it a mix between Bud Light and Summer Shandy. And I know that's going to sound gross, but it's got just a hint of lemon. Summer Shandy's pretty strong. It's pretty lemony strong. So it's not doesn't have that super lemony taste scent to it. But it is an easy drinkable. It is the perfect lawn mowing beer. Again, I apologize. I cannot see the chat for some reason. It's happened before. I don't know why. It is annoying. I'm pretty sure I did the child thing. Let's see. Enable live chat, enable slow mode. So yeah, it says enable live chat, but it's not showing. So, but I'm running behind, so I can't mess with it. Before I get into my sales, this came Ed Howard from 2021 Bowman Chrome, his second Bowman Chrome auto. This was part of this along with the other one I bought. Oh, shoot. These two I bought with an eBay gift card that I received from my birthday. So I used those for some Ed Howard cards. Let's see, what else do I have tonight? Tonight we are doing a rip of our Bowman mega boxes, ripping one-handed, and Offbeat All-Stars are coming over. We're gonna order some pizza. We were chatting last night. We'll probably do some live video. I mentioned that I downloaded StreamYard to try to get some multi-angles. So we're just going to play around and be goofy and act like 12-year-olds, opening baseball cards, eating pizza, and unlike 12-year-olds, drinking beer. So it's going to be beer instead of Mountain Dew. So that's that. I also was chatting with, I've got to wrap it up here in the next 5 minutes. So this is going to be very brief, but I did want to touch on it. And I think Brad's going to go into it a much deeper dive on his show coming up next at 8 Central on the Texas Card Dude channel, talking about eBay sales numbers. And my eBay sales numbers are so, and here's my gross sales dollars are up, but that's also because I listed Bowman and I listed a full case of 2018 Heritage Miners, which all 12 boxes sold. So that lifted my sales numbers up over the last couple of weeks. My sales volume is way down. So my sales volume for the 90 days is still averaging 45 sales per day. That's down from like a peak of 75 or 80 sales per day a few months ago. So that's trending down, but also my listings are trending down as well. So 45 is kind of where I should be. However, the last couple of weeks, my sales volume has tanked. So yesterday, so again, my 90-day average is 45. Yesterday, I made 7 sales. Tuesday, I made 10 sales, far below my numbers. So Brad and I were actually chatting about this, and again, he's going to go into further detail later today on Texas Card Dude channel. So yeah, eBay did mess around with the item specifics, and I do think that has some to do with the sinking sales numbers. I do believe some of those item specifics, and a lot of my items are low dollar items. I'm not going to take the time to update those listings. I'm going to keep them as is. Now, if it's a $10 and up item, I'll change those to get them on par so they hit the searches. But 99-cent cards, I'm not going to take the time to mess with any of those. So I do think that is a part. But also, there's a couple other reasons that it's not just eBay. It's people are finding other pursuits for their spare time. First of all, I look inward with what I'm doing, because I know I'm not the only person that collects cards and thinks, this way or behaves this way in the hobby. There's at least a couple more that have similar pursuits. So I look inward first, and I look, what am I doing differently June 17th than what I was doing March 17th? Well, I bought an e-bike. I found another hobby. I spent most of my evening last night riding my bike. Saturday, I spent like all day on the bike. I went to a brewery. Next Thursday night, we're starting trivia again. These are things I did not do. I'm planning a Cubs trip to Wrigley Field. I went home and celebrated Anawan Fun Days. Doing all of these things, these activities that I didn't do in the last, 16 months. I wasn't going to Anawan Fun Days. I wasn't going here. I wasn't going there. Breweries weren't open. It was winter, so I didn't have a bicycle to ride in Wisconsin. So all these things, and I'm not a fringe collector. I am knee deep, waist deep, chest deep in the hobby. Like every day, I do something in the hobby. That's a rarity. I mean, here, probably everybody viewing, we're in the hobby day in, day out. We spend at least an hour a day probably within the hobby. That's not the majority. The majority of collectors dabble. Believe it or not, there are collectors that buy cards that aren't on Facebook, aren't on Twitter, don't watch YouTube videos. It's amazing to me with my card show and talking to the vendors, like, oh, do you have any social media accounts? Oh, I don't do social media. Or, well, I'm on Facebook, but I don't do anything with cards. It's pretty amazing. And those are people that are in the hot, like they're selling stuff, but they're not marketing, advertising, or even involved in social media hobby. So just think of it that way, where the people that are kind of fringe, what are they doing? If a guy like me who's spending hours and hours a day in the hobby now finds other pursuits and is spending his time doing other things, what are the fringe collectors doing? Especially since Target stopped selling, the mainstream cards. Because there are people that, believe it or not, just go to Target and buy groceries or buy a t-shirt or buy aging myself, a CD. I was going to say a CD. It's like, come on, this isn't 2004. And then they walk by and it's like, hey, I have a kid at home, or, hey, I remember baseball cards. I'm going to pick some up. Because I've talked to people that they haven't collected a card in 30 years, but they're like, oh yeah, I was at Walmart the other day and I heard cards were big again, so I bought a pack just to open for fun. And there are people that do that. They'll buy a couple packs at Walmart or a blaster box. They'll open them up on the recliner while they're watching a game, and then they'll just put them in a box and put them in a closet. Don't even know what they have. They just like opening cards. So there's a lot of those fringe that they're just spending their money and their time on other pursuits, because in the last 16 months, that's about all we had was cards. We couldn't go to breweries. We couldn't go to games. We couldn't go out with friends. We were stuck at home with our baseball cards. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And another reason I'm seeing on Facebook Marketplace, check your Facebook Marketplace and just think back to, and I'm on it like on a daily basis looking for collections to buy. And in the last, not 16 months, but in the last 8 to 10 months, there have been nothing, as far as there's been a lot of retail, but there's been hardly any collections. Like not, here's 7 boxes of 1989 Score for $300. But there hasn't been anything. Now, all of a sudden, there's like, I could do that deal. Bowman Mega Boxes. Every year until now, you couldn't get a Bowman mega box on the secondary market for probably less than $50. Now I'm scooping them up for $40 shipped. And I'll open a bunch and then I'll probably sit on some because they're going to at least double in value in the next year. Sealed. So that's another thing. I saw a listing here locally of a bunch of retail, and you could tell it was somebody that didn't really know what to buy to flip. And we're talking Top Series 1, opening day, Topps Fire. There was some Chrome, so that's decent product, but it was Donruss. Like, I mean, it was like the bottom of the barrel that it's just, you're going to lose money. Like, whether you leave it sealed or you open it, it's probably a losing agenda. And he had $1,500 worth of baseball retail, and he was selling it for $700. Now, would you have seen? Now, first of all, here we are, June 17th, and some of these products were released. What? Topps came out early February, so you know the writing's on the wall per se. So $1,500 worth of retail, selling it for $700, and he's not going to get $700 for it. And I texted, because it's here locally, I texted my buddy Johnny, and I'm like, look at this. I'm like, I wouldn't even pay. My top would have been on that bunch of retail. I would pay max $200, and I would feel dirty paying $200 for a bunch of Top Series 1 and Donruss retail, because it's just ugh. And that's $1,500 worth. So I don't know, I'm interested to know what happens. I expect if he's willing to drop it to $700, he'll probably take a few $100. It'll probably sell for a few hundred. But that's a tough one. That's a tough one to swallow. Know what you're buying. So I think all of these things are leading into what's going on. Yes, I think the item specific changes, because I've seen, and I gave an example a few weeks ago on the Austin Martin yellow, that it had like 18 views, like a week after Bowman release, and he's the top guy and should be on the search, and 18 views in like 36 hours was, that was not, shouldn't have been the case. It eventually did sell. But I'm seeing a lot of that. And I went in, and the other thing, I went in and changed and updated the item specifics just to make sure everything, my T's were crossed and my I's were dotted. And it still wasn't getting the views in eBay. So I do think there's something wonky going on with the eBay search that's affecting us drastically. But I also think there's people are finding other escapes and other hobbies and cards, and it's going to continue, because now all of a sudden the fringe people, they're like, I was in it to either out of boredom or to make money. Not everybody came into the hobby to make money. There were some people that were just bored and wanted something to do. So now they're not bored anymore because they can go to games and stuff. So they're not buying a few blasters here and there. They're not buying on eBay or on Facebook. They're, going to games again. And then there's other people that, came in for the money, and now it's like, oh crap. It's that oh crap moment. I have $1,500 of retail and it's not worth a damn. And I'm going to try to sell it for $700, and it's going to be a losing battle with Topps and Donruss. So that's my thoughts. Sales are sinking. I told Brad in our chat last night that it's kind of a good thing for me, because I don't want to take on 75 shipments a day, especially now that I'm at the office. So that time adds up, 5-6 hours a week drive time. That's 5 or 6 hours that I was using to ship stuff. So I don't have that anymore. And I don't want to spend 4 hours on a Tuesday night shipping cards. I want to go for a bike ride or be in the yard, watering the garden, whatnot. Going to trivia night, hanging out with friends. So it's kind of a good thing, but it's also at the same time, it's like, it is a good thing because I want to do other things. But on the same token, I don't want this to be like long term, because I would, like in the winter, I do have that extra time, and I would like to, make a little spending money for more Cubs cards and whatnot. So we'll see. It's kind of, I'm just sensing personally, we are in that shift where I'm not going to use any of the buzzwords, and you know what they are. I'm not going to use those, but I do feel there's a shift in the hobby. And, I think Ken mentioned it previously. Geez, I'm way over. I've got to get on the road. Ken mentioned it where, people are picking lanes. I think essentially, to paraphrase, people are picking their lanes. And it's not just everything. Like, people aren't buying my 1981 Fleer Alan Trammell, where I would list 100 cards, like 81 Fleer Alan Trammell, 89 Topps Greg Jeffries, and 20 of those cards would sell in 24 hours. That's not happening anymore. So I'll just leave it at that. I've got to go. Stay tuned tonight, because Ryan and Brian are coming over. We're going to have some Bowman Megas. We're going to go live. Just follow me on Twitter at 1 million Cubs. And we don't know if we're going to each go live and do our own live streams and kind of collaborate that way, if we're going to go on StreamYard and just set up multicam. So just stay tuned. I don't know if any of us are video savvy in that way. So we'll just kind of play it by ear and do it tonight. So thanks for tuning in. I apologize, I cannot see any of the chat. Hopefully I can go back and watch the replay, or I'm not going to watch the replay, but at least I'll fast forward so I can read the chat and maybe talk about some of that tomorrow morning. I do plan on going tomorrow morning. Maybe. Actually, it kind of depends on what we do video-wise tonight. But again, it's a 50-50. Like, during the week, it's going to be a 50-50. I just, the time to devote it's tough. So that's all. I've got to go. Thanks for tuning in, and hang out with us tonight on social media, as we'll be ripping some Bowman Mega Boxes.